Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare 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 Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to Srimad Bhagavatam for All session. So we will continue our Okay, sorry about that. So I'll share the screen. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we were reciting Bhagavad Gita Shloka from chapter 10. You remember which shloka we had memorized last? Okay, when I should. Okay. So I'll just read. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, listen again. Well, we didn't memorize that. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Actually, just let me check from the shloka book which ones we learned. Do you hear any sound in the background or no?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Not so much Mataji. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay? Okay.
It's okay.
There's some celebration going on outside, so there's some. I can put my earphones. Okay, so yeah, I think we started with 10-2. Name viduh suraganaha prabhavam nama harshayah aham adirvidevanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Did we do 10-7? एतां विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Did we memorize 10-7? Does anyone remember? Huh? You don't remember? So let's begin with 10-7 today then. So I'll just open it. I'll open in the Bhagavad Gita textbook. Okay, 10-7. Please repeat after me. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tattvataha So vikalpena yogena युज्यते नात्र संशयः एतां विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सो विकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः एतां विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सो विकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. I will explain this verse further in the coming classes. For now, let's just recite. So, what is the title of chapter 10? The title is The Opulence of the Supreme. And if you remember, in the very first verse, Krishna told Arjun that, listen once again, Arjun. Bhuyaha means I'm going to repeat whatever I described in the ninth chapter. Whatever means the opulences that I have described, I'm going to repeat again. And in addition to that, I will also speak something more. That is the subject matter of chapter 10. So we are reading about the opulences of the Supreme. And another speciality of chapter 10. Anyone remembers? There's one more speciality. How does Krishna speak in this chapter? You don't remember? Krishna speaks in an indirect way. So therefore we need the explanation. He he's he's talking about his opulences, but he's talking in an indirect way. So now Krishna is saying in this text 7 that one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So why is Krishna even telling about all these opulences? It is essential. It is essential for a Dasa Bhakta. Dasa Bhakta means someone who is serving the Supreme Lord as a servant. Okay. So now don't think this is only meant for, those who are in Dasya Bhav. My Bhava is Madhurya Bhav or Vatsalya Bhav. So this is not for me. No. All of us, that Dasya Bhava is there in all the different mellows. And anyone who is beginning, uh, like going through sadhana bhakti, what is our mood? Our mood is always that of a servant. So for us, it is very, very essential to serve the Supreme Lord. For us to serve the Supreme Lord, it is essential to understand how great He is, what His opulences are. Otherwise, there is the problem of becoming a sahajiya, right? Oh, Krishna is my dear friend. Oh, Krishna is my lover, and I do this and that. We should understand what is the position of Krishna. Therefore, for Dasa Bhaktas, it is essential to understand the. Therefore, Krishna is speaking. He spoke in the 7th chapter, again in the 9th chapter, and now again in the 10th chapter. Krishna is speaking. Why? For our benefit. It is very important for us to understand about the opulence of the Supreme. What will happen when you understand about the opulence of the Supreme? How great is Krishna? Not just great, he is the greatest. Nobody is greater than him. Nobody is equal to him. So in this verse, text 7, Krishna is saying the natural consequence of being convinced of the opulence and mystic power of the Supreme Lord is that one
inevitably engages in pure devotional service. Bhakti, he will enter into bhakti. So for us to enter into bhakti, what do we need? We need Shraddha. And how do you get this Shraddha? By hearing about the greatness of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we will get Shraddha. And when we get Shraddha in him, in bhakti, then we will begin bhakti. Of this there is no doubt. Therefore we should hear more and more about the opulence of the Supreme. Of course, this is Aishwarya Bhava. The opulence of the Supreme is Aishwarya. But it is essential. It is essential for those who are servants. But as one progresses in the path, on the path of bhakti, and one comes to the stage of spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti, at that stage, so that's far away for us, right? Don't think that, oh, well, I'm in spontaneous bhakti platform. That's far, far away, right? We have to, first of all, even enter into bhakti, pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means 24/7, no other desire save and except pleasing Krishna in any of our endeavors, right? That is pure devotional service. And after entering into pure devotional service, you have to cross through anartha nivritti. And after all your anarthas are removed, then you become fixed in this devotional service, nishtha. And then you get ruchi. And then from ruchi stage onwards, after that, one can actually get, right, those who desire to get spontaneous devotional service, then at that stage they can actually make a shift. So for those devotees who are in Raganuga Bhakti, they are not so much interested in the opulences, in the Aishwarya of the Supreme. They are interested in the Madhurya, the sweetness of Krishna, his sweet pastimes. They are interested in that. But we should not imitate those devotees at our stage. Of course, Krishna's pastimes are very sweet, but you cannot reject Krishna's opulences thinking that, oh, the sweet pastimes are good. Why? You certainly hear the sweet pastimes. There's no bar in hearing. You must hear. That's wonderful. But if you don't know about the greatness of Krishna, about the opulence of Krishna, then we will take Krishna like an ordinary person, right? And then we will inevitably commit offenses. And when we commit offenses, our bhakti will be choked. So therefore, it is essential for us to understand about the opulence. Okay, with that background, let's begin reciting the shloka. Does anyone need to go first? Okay, no hands raised. So we will begin with Achit Priya Mataji. Mataji, please begin.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Happy to have you back, Mataji.
Thank you, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Happy to be here.
Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha suvikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. One who is factually convinced of this One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Imba Inia, Jai Sri Mataji, Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
एतामिभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेति तत्त्वतः सविकल्पेन योगेन सोविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. Translation: One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Inia.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha sovikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt.
Thank you. Prabhuji Mataji are there?
No, Masterji. We'll
No
recite later.
problem. Okay. So next is Madhava. Krishna Ashish and Madhava. That's a few.
एतं विभूतिं योगं च मामयो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः विकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Yes. Madhava.
Later is Brahmyogamsa Vayavetti Tattvaha Savakalpena Yena Yajyate Trasamsaya. One who is actually convinced of the opulence and the power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Rasapriya.
एतं विभूतं योगं च मम योगेति तत्त्वता सविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Isha.
एतान् विभूतयोगं च सुखयोगेति तत्त्वतः स्वविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Medha and Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yovetti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samsayaha. Translation. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Medha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
एतं विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सुविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. Translation. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Thank you. Next is Kalpesh Prabhu and Sonia Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra sanshaya. Translation. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Priyanka Mataji. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and congratulations to you on your initiative.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mam yoveti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Narsimha Leela Chaitanya Prabhu, Surit Purti, Savarnani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanas Pranams. All the Srila
Dandavatana
Prabhupada.
Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Etam vibhuti yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha. So vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. Translation: one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Etam vibhutim yogam dharmamiyo vete tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. Translation: one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavastanam Sanvishya Sloka.
Dandavatana Prabhuji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. Translation by His Divine Grace is the equivalent of Srila Prabhupada. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna. Spurti is not.
She's not there. Okay. Did anyone not recite yet? Everyone has recited. So let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 3. So, the subject matter of the 9th Canto is the descendants of Vaivasvatamanu, the sons of Vaivasvatamanu, and then their sons, the descendants. Okay, so let's go back and do a recap. So we saw as we are going down the list of the 10 sons, we are also reading about them, isn't it? So in chapter, yeah, so we started reading about Sukanya. What is the context? How did we come to the story of Acha? Because her father is King Sharyati. So this King Sharyati is another son of Manu. Okay. So we are going down the list of the 10 sons of Vaivasvata Manu. So in the previous chapter, we read about a few of them. Right? We read about Trishadra, we read about Kavi, then Dishta, right? Drishta, like that. We read, I think, 7 sons. And then any related significant information about the descendants in those kings. So, like that, in the beginning of this third chapter of the 9th canto, we are reading about another son of Vaivasvatamanu called King Sharyati. And we read that King Sharyati had a beautiful daughter called Sukanya. I'll just read the translations for 1 and 2. Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, O King, Sharyati, another son of Manu, was a ruler completely aware of Vedic knowledge. He gave instructions about the functions for the second day of the yajna to be performed by the descendants of Angira. So the king is giving instructions how to do yajna to the Brahmanas. Generally, the Brahmanas are all knowledgeable. And what type of Brahmanas? They are Angira Muni's descendants. But this king is so knowledgeable in the Vedas, he is instructing how to do the yajna to the Brahmanas. So this Sharyati, who was completely aware of Vedic knowledge, this Sharyati, King Sharyati, had a beautiful lotus-eyed daughter named Sukanya, with whom he went to the forest to see the ashram of Chavanamuni. Although my bookmark shows as two, but I remember we read further also. I'll continue reading. While that Sukanya, surrounded by her friends, was collecting various types of fruits from the trees in the forest, she saw within the hole of an earthworm two things glowing like luminaries. Or did we just read? Did we just read the summary? Do you remember reading these verses? Huh? We read the verses. I'm not exactly sure. Let's just read from here. It's okay, even if we read. Because if we read before, it's okay. Repetition is fine. But if we didn't read, then we'll skip that. Let's just start here. I don't remember who's supposed to start. I'm starting with Achitya Mataji. सा सखीभिः परिवृता विचिन्वन्त्यङ्घ्रिपान् वने वल्मीकरन्ध्रे ददृशे खद्योते इव ज्योतिषी. Achitya Mataji.
While the Sukanya, surrounded by her friends, was collecting various types of fruits from the trees in the forest, she saw within the hole of an earthworm two things glowing like luminaries. Thank you.
So the previous verse said that once this king Sharyati took his daughter and went into the forest to see the ashram of Chavana Muni. Okay, he went to the ashram to see ashram of Chavana Muni. While they were there, Sukanya, she was still a young girl, surrounded by her friends, was collecting various types of fruits from the trees. Right? Forest fruits are different than the fruits that you find in the cities. Even flowers, you have wild flowers, wild fruits. So she was collecting various types of fruits from the trees in the forest. And at that time, all of a sudden, she saw, earthworms, they make holes in the ground. So, in the hole of an earthworm in the soil, she saw two glowing things. And being a little, like a young girl, she was curious, right? What is glowing inside the earth? So, what did she do? Let's see. So, she saw within the hole of an earthworm two things glowing like luminaries, like some stars or something. तेदैव चोदिता बाला ज्योतिषी कण्टकेन वै अविद्यन्मुग्धभावेन सुस्रावासृक्ततो बहिः. Okay, next is who is next? Sorry, Inba.
Yes, Mataji. As if induced by providence, the girl ignorantly pierced these two glowworms with a thorn, and when they were pierced, blood began to ooze out of them.
Yeah. So Kantaka means thorn. So what did she do when she saw these two glowing objects? Maybe they look like glowworms. So she took two thorns and ignorantly, why ignorantly? She was not aware of what it was. So she just took two thorns and she, this happens with even big people, what to speak of a young girl, right? Sometimes you become so desperate to, out of inquisitiveness or out of, wanting to fix something, you just, instead of fixing it, you mess it up, right? All you have to do is wait for some time. but you don't have the patience, right? You just want to figure out what it is. So she saw these glowing things, so she took two thorns and she just ignorantly, unknowingly what it was, she didn't know. Ignorantly she pricked those two glowworms, as it said. Achitya Mataji, you raised your hand.
So I did not understand this earthworm. Why you are referring your earthworm? I forgot.
Hole in the ground. Like earthworms, when they go into the earth, they make a hole when they go through. So there was a hole in the ground, in the earth, and in that hole she saw. So that hole is made by earthworm. So in that hole she saw two glowing things. That's what it is. So what it is, we will find out. That is suspense.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as if induced by providence, right? Why she did that, we don't know. It's as if she was meant to do that, right? As if induced by providence. Otherwise, there's no reason why she should go and prick. As if induced by providence, the girl ignorantly pierced those two glowworms with a thorn. And what happened when she pierced them? They were bleeding. Blood began to ooze out of those glowing objects. Yeah. When they were pierced, blood began to ooze out of them. शक्रिन्मूत्र निरोधो भूत् सैनिकानां च तत्क्षणात् राजर्षिस्तम् उपालक्ष्य पुरुषान् विस्मितो ब्रवीत्. इनिया.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thereupon, all the soldiers of Saryati were immediately obstructed from passing urine and stool. Upon perceiving this, Sharyati spoke to his associates in surprise.
Yes. Remember, Sharyati was completely knowledgeable in the Vedas, it is said, right? He was very, very highly knowledgeable. So when what he noticed, he went into the forest with a group of soldiers and of course with his daughter and her friends. All of a sudden, for no reason, they were here near Chavanamuni's ashram. For no reason, everyone had it's like, when Durvasa Muni went to the Pandavas and then he said he'll take bath. All of a sudden, everyone, without eating, they felt they were all like literally completely full, right? As if they had just eaten a big meal, so much so that they were rolling on the ground. They couldn't even contain themselves. All of a sudden, everyone was having the same experience. That means obviously there is some intervention, right? Something has happened, something supernatural has happened, or some higher beings have intervened. So here also, Sharyati Maharaj noticed that all his soldiers, ministers, everyone, all of a sudden, there are 10 types of airs in the body. So one air is responsible for passing of stool, right? Or even passing air down, or, like that, and for passing urine. That air stopped flowing in the body and they could all feel it immediately. And it was a big problem, right? It's as if one is getting suffocated. Of course, not through breath, but the other way. There was no air passing. So they were all in great anxiety. And when King Sharyati noticed this, he began to contemplate, right? Why is this happening to all the soldiers at the same time? This is not natural. So upon perceiving this, Sharyati was surprised. and began to speak to his associates. Apyabhadram na yushmabhir bhargavasya vicheshtitam vyaktam kenapi nastasya kritam ashrama dushanam. Inia or Prabhuji are there.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
How strange it is that one of us has attempted to do something wrong to Chavana Muni, the son of Brigu. It certainly appears that someone among us has polluted this ashram.
Yes. So what has happened here? This is Chavana Muni's ashram. And after coming here, all of us are experiencing a great inconvenience, not just inconvenience, it can actually even be fatal. So, a great danger. Why has this happened in Chavan Muni's ashram? There's no one other than our group here. One of us has committed a great offense to Chavana Muni. Something wrong has been done to Chavana Muni. Who is Chavana Muni? He is the son of Bhrigu Muni. Yes. So he could immediately understand, and this Sharyati Maharaj is speaking to his associates. How strange it is that one of us has attempted to do something wrong to Chavana Muni, the son of Bhrigu. It certainly appears that someone among us has polluted this ashram, right? We have done something which should not have been done. That's why we are getting this punishment. सुकन्या प्राह पितरं भीता किंचित कृतं मया द्वे ज्योतिषी अजानन्त्या निर्भिन्ने कंटके न वै. प्रभु जी जय गणेश प्रभु.
Mataji, he's not here, right?
He's not there. Okay, so next Isha.
Being very much afraid, the girl Sukanya said to her father, I have done something wrong, for I have ignorantly pierced these two luminous substances with a thorn.
Yes. So Sukanya, she saw that, the father saying someone has done something wrong and nobody's admitting that they've done anything wrong. And she was guilty, of course, she knew, right? When she pierced, blood was oozing out of those two glowing objects. So something was wrong there. So she came up to her father. Obviously, she must have been very fearful, right? So, being very much afraid, she was a little girl. She approached her father and she said, it was me who has done, who has polluted this ashram, who has done an offense to Chavana Muni. I have done something wrong. What did I do? Unknowingly, I pierced two luminous substances with a thorn. Now, what were those luminous substances? We'll find out. दुहितुस्तद्वचः श्रुत्वा साध्वसः मुनिं प्रसादयाम आसा वल्मीकान्तर्हितं शनैः. Krishna.
After hearing this statement by his daughter, King Sharyati was very much afraid. In various ways, he tried to appease Chavanamuni, for it was he who sat within the whole of the earthworm.
So now we know that, right? The suspense is now revealed. So Chavana Muni was sitting in that hole of the earthworm to do his tapasya or meditation. Sometimes rishis do that. I mean, first of all, they have that power to do that. You remember in Mahabharata, Kindama Muni, Kindama Rishi, he took the form of a deer because they decided to have a child, and it was not, they were just living in the forest and they didn't have a home or anything. So there was no proper place where they could actually, where his wife could conceive. Because for human beings, it's not appropriate to just do it anywhere outside. that is allowed for animals, not for human beings. So him and his wife took the form of deer, right? And that's when Pandu Maharaj shot him. So anyway, so what I'm saying is, sages have powerful sages. They have this power. They can take any form. They have all these siddhis, They can become smaller than the smallest, and they can just become invisible, like that. They can travel to any places, even up to the point of creating a planet, right? Those who have these siddhis, they can do that. So this sage Chavanamuni, he also became small, and he sat inside this hole of the earthworm, probably to do his meditation. Those two glowing objects were his eyes. So what Sukanya pierced, those two things, were the eyes of Chavanamuni. And when she pierced with the thorn, right, he actually became blind. His, his eyes started bleeding. And that was a great offense to the sage in his place. And as a natural consequence, all the ministers and soldiers of the king, you know, their air for passing stool and urine stopped. Yes, Inia?
Mataji, so did he regain his eyes?
We'll find out. Further, there's a lot of story coming up. Yeah,
Okay.
let's continue. Okay. So, let's see what King Sharyati do now. After hearing this statement by his daughter, when she said that it was I who pierced two luminous objects with a thorn, Sharyati became very much afraid. Right? He understood, and this is the sage Chavanamuni whose eyes my daughter has pierced. Now he tried to pacify Chavanamuni in so many ways. Why? Because munis and sages are very powerful. You know Durvasa Muni, right? So if they become angry or if they are offended, they can curse you by their power. So King Sharyati became very much afraid. Already he is seeing the effect. That was just a small effect. This Chavanamuni can even curse the king. So he tried to, this was a little girl. She didn't know what she was doing, but this was a great blunder, great wrong done. Please forgive her, like that. He was begging him and pacifying this Chavanamuni in various ways. Then what happened? What else did Sharyati do? Tad abhiprayamagyaya प्रादाद्दुहितरं मुनेः कृच्छ्रान्मुक्तस्तमामन्त्र्य पुरं प्रायात् समाहितः. Okay, Madhava. I have my G's on. I don't know if I can hear you. One. I can't hear. Maybe others can hear. Keep curiosity, be very contemplative, misunderstanding, developing his purpose. He has give his daughter inside the stage. Just really to bring those who are study. He just wants to be there with you. So this is what King Sharyati did. What happened when King Sharyati is begging Chavanmuni, please forgive, he noticed that Chavanmuni is looking at the young daughter of Sharyati, looking, of course, he didn't have eyes. He didn't have eyes. But the king could understand the intention of Chavanamuni. Okay? King Sharyati being very contemplative and thus understanding Chavanamuni's purpose. So Chavanamuni desired it, and the king could understand that. Of course, Chavanamuni was very old. Okay, he was like a grandfather or even older for Sukanya. But he wanted it in the sense, now he's blind, so he will need an assistant, right, to do anything like that. So the girl has done the wrong, so she has to pay for it like that. So how will a young girl assist a sage? Only she has to be married, isn't it? She has to be married. That's when. So King Sharyati, being very contemplative and thus understanding Chavanamuni's purpose, gave his daughter in charity to the sage, thus released from danger with great difficulty, right? Satisfying begging with great difficulty. Somehow he saved himself and his kingdom from the wrath of this sage, he thought. So being released, immediately he took permission from Chavanamuni and left that place so that the sage may not change his mind and curse him or something. So after giving his daughter, he left that place immediately. Purpose. Rasapriya.
The king, after hearing the statement of his daughter, certainly told the great sage Chavanmuni everything about how his daughter had ignorantly committed such an offense. The Muni, however, inquired from the king whether the daughter was married. In this way, the king, understanding the purpose of the great sage Chavanmuni, immediately gave the Muni his daughter in charity and escaped the danger of being cursed. Thus, with the permission of the great sage, the king returned home.
That's what happened. So when the king was begging and he said, "Oh, my young daughter, ignorantly she committed this offense. She didn't know, she's so young, please forgive her." When the king was saying this, the Muni said, "Oh, your daughter did that? Is she married already?" When he said, "Is she married?" the king understood, oh, maybe the sage wants her. So he just gave her in charity to the Muni and he left, escaping from the danger of being cursed. Sukanya Chavanam Prapya Patim Paramakopanam Prinayamasa Chittagya Apramattanuvat Vrittibihi. Okay, who's after Rasapriya? Kalpesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhuji, all good.
Chavan Muni was very irritable, but since Sukanya and him as her husband, she dealt with him carefully, according to his mood. Knowing his mind, she performed service to him without being bewildered.
So this verse, especially Srila Prabhupada's purport, is very, very instructive, uh, for family life. Uh, almost always, in marital counseling, the story of Sukanya is told. Of course, there is two things. We will read also in the purpose as it comes. First thing is the husband has to be trained properly to be Krishna conscious. That's step one. That's why there is brahmachari ashram, because the men have to be trained first. And then the next thing is the girl has to serve the husband. How she has to serve is explained giving the example of Sukanya's life. So here you see she was a young girl, she was married to an old man. Not only that, so a young girl, she would have her dreams, her desires, right? That she will marry a handsome prince or something. She's a princess, but she's married to this old sage in the forest. No comfort. So she had every reason to become dissatisfied, to grumble, or to become morose, or to curse herself, isn't it? She had every reason to do that. Being brought up, having been brought up as a princess, huh? And being so beautiful, it is already explained. She was very beautiful, lotus-eyed. And on top of that, her husband was now blind, old, blind. Plus, in this verse, we see he was very irritable. Generally, old people are irritable, but here Chavanamuni was more than normal. He was very irritable, angry type of person. How did Sukanya deal with that situation? That Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely. So let's see. The translation says, Chavanamuni was very irritable, but since Sukanya had gotten him as her husband, she dealt with him carefully according to his mood. Okay, so the husband is irritable and understanding, first of all, she understands the mood of her husband. So he is by nature an angry person who always gets angry and who's always irritable like that. Then she adjusted her own behavior and she dealt with him very carefully uh, to accommodate, right? According to his mood. Knowing his mind, she performed service to him without being bewildered. So she continued her service to him, and even though the husband was getting angry and he was complaining and he was irritable, she didn't get bewildered by that behavior of the husband, but she performed her service patiently. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Sonia Mataji.
This is an indication of the relationship between husband and wife. A great personality like Javan Muni has the temperament of always wanting to be in a superior position. Such a person cannot submit to anyone. Therefore, Javan Muni had an irritable temperament. His wife Sukanya could understand his attitude, and under the circumstances, she treated him accordingly. If any wife wants to be happy with her husband, she must try to understand her husband's temperament and please him. This is victory for a woman. Even in the dealing of Lord Krishna with his different queens, it has been seen that although the queens were the daughters of great kings, they placed themselves before Lord Krishna as his maidservants. However great a woman may be, she must place herself before her husband in this way. That is to say, she must be ready to carry out her husband's order and please him in all circumstances. Then her life will be successful. When the wife becomes as irritable as the husband, their life at home is sure to be disturbed or ultimately completely broken. In the modern day, the wife is never submissive, and therefore home life is broken even by slight incidents. Either the wife or the husband may take advantage of the divorce laws. According to the Vedic law, however, there is no such thing as divorce laws, and a woman must be trained to be submissive to the will of her husband. Westerners contend that this is a slave mentality for the wife, but factually it is not. It is the tactic by which a woman can conquer the heart of her husband, however irritable or cruel he may be. In this case, we clearly see that although Javan Muni was not young, but indeed old enough to be Sukanya's grandfather and was also very irritable, Sukanya, the beautiful young daughter of king, submitted herself to her old husband and tried to please him in all respects. Thus, she was a faithful and chaste wife.
Yes, Hare Krishna. So this is a very, very valuable purport. Uh, so see, our mind tells us that no, but if I'm not wrong, why should I bow down, right? If the husband is getting angry for no reason, then why should I bow down? He's wrong. And we see our previous generations, like our mothers and grandmothers, and maybe even our contemporaries who are from a village background, traditional families. Even though you will see, even though the husband is sometimes violent, still the wife, tolerates and she just continues. Srila Prabhupada says that in the purport, even if the husband is cruel, right, irritable and cruel, the wife understands his temperament. uh, If she is able to understand his temperament and if she is able to serve him, then her life will become successful. So, what is the psychology here? The husband's psychology is he wants to be the master, especially mainly before his wife. This is the psychology. Because he's a man, right? The male ego does not allow him to submit himself or to, even if he's wrong, to admit that he's wrong. Normally, between two friends or, in other relationships, we would expect that if you're wrong, then you should admit it. That is honesty. But it doesn't work like that between husband and wife. This is the wisdom being given by Srila Prabhupada to us. Right? It's just Srila Prabhupada says this is a tactic. It's not slavery. This is a tactic to win over, to conquer the heart of the husband. Because men have this ego, right, that they have to be superior, especially in front of his wife. That is why, before marriage, they do this marital counseling where they check, everything, the horoscope and all that, and also the educational qualification and, the varna, right? Husband can be of a higher varna, wife can be equal or lower, but wife cannot be superior to husband. Like the wife cannot be a brahmana and husband a kshatriya. That's not acceptable. If that happens, then it is called a pratiloma vivaha, right? It's not anuloma. Anuloma is normal, natural, acceptable way of vivaha. But in rare cases, there are when the wife is actually higher than the husband. Why? What is that science? Because if the wife is from a wealthier family or she's more qualified, sometimes educationally, or sometimes from coming from an aristocratic family or with more wealth, then naturally she will have that pride, that ego, that I am better than my husband because I am from a higher, background, and that will um, cause a friction in the relationship because again, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Krishna and his queens. They are all the daughters of great, great kings. But in front of Krishna, they always, of course, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But still, when Krishna comes here, he's also Yad Yad Acharati Sreshta tattad evetaro janaha, right? Whatever acts great men perform, common men follow. And whatever standards they set by their exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So Krishna also sets example. So all these queens of Krishna, who are the daughters of great kings, how did they deal in front of their husband? They were like maid servants. In fact, traditionally, a son would tell his mother that I'm going to find a maid servant for you. That means he's going to see a girl, right, for marriage. And when he brings her, he tells his mother, I got a maid servant to help you. So, if that is accepted, if the wife is always placing herself as subordinate in front of her husband, then the marriage life will be a happy life, peaceful life. I mean, as happy as it can get in this material world. There will always be problems. The material life means there will be problems. But this is a sign, allowing the male ego, because that's a need for people who are in male bodies. Of course, we are not talking on devotional platform. When you are in devotional platform, you identify yourself as a servant of Krishna, or you identify yourself as a spirit soul, and the wife also as a spirit soul, and that's how we should be actually doing it. But are we on that platform yet? Then what to do? Just like, if you have not entered into pure devotional service, then you should still follow the rules and regulations of this world, right? If you're a Brahmana, you have to follow the rules of a Brahmana. If you're a Kshatriya, you have to follow. But for a pure devotee, you're neither Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. You're not required to follow anything. But if you are not yet a pure devotee, then you must follow those things also. So similarly, if we are not yet pure devotees, then we must also. Why Srila Prabhupada is writing this in the purport if it is not applicable to all of us? So, uh, so that means if the wife allows this for the husband, if the husband is uh, not if men will have this, they they have to be honored and respected as a superior. Now, let's say if the wife is competing or showing that she is equal to or better than her husband, then that will hurt the ego of the husband, and then there will be arguments, fights, and eventually either of them will take to divorce. Srila Prabhupada said that in the purport. And that's how families are being broken. Divorce rates are increasing day by day. Whereas in Vedic lifestyle, in the Vedic society, there is nowhere you will see that divorce is also an option. Once you are married for life. There's no question of divorce. There may be separation, but not divorce, right? When the husband takes sannyas, then there is separation. The wife lives with the grown-up son, but there's no question of divorce. And this is introduced by man, modern man, divorce. But why is it happening? Because of dissatisfaction in family life. Why is there dissatisfaction? This is one big, women's liberation and women's rights. Of course, I'm not saying that men have not abused women. All that has happened also. That is why my very first statement was men have to be trained. The whole thing is a system. This varnashrama system, Daiva varnashrama system, you know, it's like a spider web, right? You touch anywhere, the web, you touch it anywhere, the whole thing will shake, isn't it? So if you don't follow one part of the system properly, it will affect the entire system. Everything is connected. So gurukuls are also required, where boys are sent, educated, trained to get those values. It's very, very essential. And after that, now if they want to enter into married life, they are married, and then wife has her duties as we are seeing here. She has to follow that. And because the husband is already trained, he will also know how to behave properly, not abuse his wife, as some, uh, machine or something. Then why so much abuse is happening in the society? Because of lack of proper education. Yes, that is essential. So first thing is men have to be trained. And men, they start as boys. So boys have to be trained. And girls also have to be trained. Girls are trained at home. Boys are trained in the ashram, in Gurukul, by the teacher. Like that. And then when they enter into married life, then we follow this system. Then it will be a peaceful family life. So Sukanya's story is very, very important. I think we'll stop here. It's already almost time. We'll continue tomorrow. And Sonia Mataji read today. So we'll begin with Usha Mataji, Meda, and then Priyanka Mataji, like that. Let's read Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 65. Yes, the famous verse. Please repeat. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Yes. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So we are coming to the conclusion of Krishna's instructions to Bhagavad Gita. The next verse will be the last instruction of Krishna. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is not ending. There's few more verses, several verses coming after that. But Krishna stops his instruction. Okay, this is the second last and the next one. Right. So purport: the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. See, we have to mold our lives in such a way that whatever we do, every activity that we are doing is keep bringing us in contact with Krishna. Right? One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. Why? Because we want to be pure devotees. Pure devotees means 24/7 Krishna consciousness. And it's going to happen automatically, suddenly. No. Inch by inch, we must consciously make that effort of molding our life, not just little bit in the morning, little bit in the evening, but throughout the life, throughout the day, one should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, not even the night time when you sleep, throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. That means that if all your day is engaged in activities related to Krishna, then what will happen at night when you sleep? You will be dreaming about Krishna. There also you are in touch with Krishna 24/7. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness, this is the condition, my dear devotees, this is the condition. Krishna is saying, yes, I will do this, I will do that, but for whom? For whom? I will relieve you from all types of sins, and you will come to me without fail, right? To whom is Krishna speaking? Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness, what is that pure Krishna consciousness? That he is arranging his life in such a way that throughout 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. That means he's constantly thinking of Krishna 24 hours. To such a devotee, Krishna is promising that he will certainly return to Krishna's abode, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjun because, and then why Krishna is telling only Arjun? Because Arjun is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjun can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Krishna. So, if we follow in the path of Arjun, what is Arjun's path? Well, he's constantly thinking of Krishna. That's one thing, right? Anyone who follows in the path of Arjun, he also becomes a dear friend of Krishna, and he can also get the same destination as Arjun. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind. So again, coming back to the verse, what is Krishna saying? Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Man mana, in your mind, always think of me. One should concentrate his mind upon Krishna. And Krishna means who? The very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita, yes? What is Alo Lachandra Kalasadvana Malya Vamsi Ratnangadam Pranayakeli Kala Vilasam Shyamam Tribhangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This verse is describing the beautiful form of Krishna. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord, not even other Vishnumurti forms. The Lord has multi forms as Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. So, my dear devotees, you don't have to feel obliged. In my family, in my tradition, or in my in-laws, whatever, this particular form is worshipped. This is our family deity. You don't have to worry. Yes, you may do it for the sake of the family members, right? So that they may not become, how do you say, just to keep peace, you can say. Okay? So you may do it for their satisfaction. Sometimes you may have to do it. But in your heart, you should only meditate on Krishna as described in Brahma Samhita, the two-handed, beautiful Krishna with a flute in his hand, like that. That's what is being said here in this purport. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. Although the Lord has multi forms like Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc., but a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. So there is confidential knowledge, more confidential knowledge, and most confidential knowledge. So meditating on the form of Krishna is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjun. Why? because Arjun is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Okay, so we'll stop Bhagavad Gita reading here. I also want to read very little bit of Leelamrita so that we'll keep the continuity. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. Continuation. So, what did we read last time? Yes. So Srila Prabhupada is now, he has the second and I think the third volume is also ready of Bhagavatam, and he's personally giving it to different persons, important persons in society, and then they are giving their, uh, uh, what do you say? What do you call that? What, they give their opinion, right? On the book, sometimes they print what so and so great person says about this book. Anyway, so with the manuscript for volume 3 complete and with the money to print it, so Prabhupada has 2 volumes printed already. Third one to to, to write that he came to Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple. So the manuscript for the third volume is ready. And with the money to print it, Bhaktivedanta Swami once again entered the printing world, purchasing paper, correcting proofs, and keeping the printer on schedule so that the book would be finished by January 1965. That's when Srila Prabhupada left for America, right? 1965. So Srila Prabhupada is now pushing the printing so that the third volume will be completed by January of 1965. Thus, by his persistence, he, who had almost no money of his own, managed to publish his third large hardbound volume within a little more than 2 years. At this rate, with his respect in the scholarly world increasing, he might soon become a recognized figure amongst his countrymen. But he had his vision set on the West, and with the third volume now printed, he felt he was at last prepared. He was 69 and would have to go soon, right? He's aging, so he would have to go soon. It had been more than 40 years since Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had first asked a young householder in Calcutta to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. At first, it had seemed impossible to Abhay Charan, who had so recently entered family responsibilities. That obstacle, however, had long ago been removed. Right? He left home. And for more than 10 years, he had been free to travel, but he had been penniless and still was. Even now, he didn't have money. And he had wanted first to publish some volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam to take with him. It had seemed necessary if he were to do something solid. Now, by Krishna's grace, 3 volumes were on hand. It's just like, let's say you attend a course or something and you hear everything and then you go home. How much are you going to retain? But let's say, along with the course, they give you the material for that course, whatever you have heard. Then, or you take some notes. Then, when you go home, you look at the notes, you will recollect what you have heard, isn't it? So that's why Srila Prabhupada felt that he must have Srimad Bhagavatam and then he will go to preach to people, right? And he will give something in their hand. Read the Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. So, Srila Prabhupada, I planned that I must go to America. Generally, they go to London, but I did not want to go to London. I was simply thinking how to go to New York. I was scheming whether I shall go this way through Tokyo, Japan, or that way. Which way is cheaper? That was my proposal. And I was targeting to New York always. Sometimes I was dreaming that I have come to New York. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you all so much for staying the extra time also. And I'm very happy to resume our classes. So we will see each other again tomorrow. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.